man. See, they didn't want anybody knowing who we were, not even the boys. They put us in a little trailer in the back, and they had us hiding all day long. They wouldn't, like, if we had to go to the bathroom, we had to make sure nobody was out there. If we wanted food, we had to send somebody to get it. Like, there was just people like bringing us food. Like, it was so crazy, man. Our first little deal, it was, I want to say it was me, Luke Gallows. I want to say like Sam Shaw was under a mask. He was kind of like, hey man, we're doing this thing. Like, but we were going to bring in some more people, but we ain't got them yet. So it was kind of like, okay, well, all right, everybody put masks on. So I want to say like EY was in there. He was wearing like one of Kevin Nash's old like leather vests or something crazy. And we went out and jumped somebody, and like Al told us, and he was made sure he's like, hey man, don't do anything that will discern you from anybody else. Like, no real like moves or nothing like that. Just freaking get on them like a pack of dogs. Don't let them breathe. Like, stay on them, stay on them, stay on them. Be vicious, vicious, vicious. So, I mean, shit, I took that to as far as I could possibly take it, to where I'd blow myself up so bad. The masks were awful. It was like two neoprene masks sewn on top of each other. You couldn't breathe out of them. They stunk. Like, no matter how much you washed them, they still freaking stunk. And it was like, I remember the first actual match with Aces and Eights that I did was against Austin Aries, who I think he was the champion at the time. And, nobody knew who I was. I was under the mask, couldn't breathe, of course. Like, I'm in there suffocating, and we're doing, a 10, 15 minute, like, hardcore no disqualification match. And, I remember I got him up for a powerbomb, and he threw the powder in my eyes, and I was not ready for it. So it was shoot blindness. Like, I couldn't see jack shit, and I couldn't breathe. So I'm like starting to panic a little bit, and I was pulling the bottom of my mask up, and you could see my beard kind of popping out. I was like, I got all freaked out, of course. And, man, it was a blast. I remember he gave me something in the corner, and man, he drilled me, and, we got into the back, and like we were talking, like, man, he's like, I nailed you. He's like, you started like laughing under there, and he was like, yeah, come on, bring it. Like, of course, I'm over it like that. So, I get smashed in the side. So I took my mask off, and all the blood's pouring out, like, off the side of my head. Like, there was a big old chunk, like, taken out of my ear. So, like, maybe about an inch deep of my ear was just kind of like hanging off on the side, and like, he apologized and stuff. I was like, dude. I mean, I'm sure he didn't know, like, how we were trained and all that crap. You know what I mean? So it was like, well, and whatever. And I kind of reached over, and I yanked the piece of ear off, and I threw it into the garbage. And I was just like, don't worry about nothing, bro. I'm fine.
Oh,
like, I'm laughing, and they're stitching me up, and like, so we're doing that stuff, and man, like, every person that they brought in to do the Aces and Eights, it was like, they were all like all my friends, man. They were all guys I hung out with already. They were all guys that, that we kind of come up together, or if we hadn't formed an immediate bond, like, it was crazy, man. Like, all we ever, I don't even know how to explain it, bro. I get so excited about it. It was the funnest damn time of my career, man, because remember when I told you, like, how big of a mark I was when I was a kid, like, younger. My whole room, man, my whole bedroom was covered from wall to wall with Hulk Hogan posters and Sting posters. You know what I mean? And like the real legends, like the old school guys, you know what I mean? That were, they were my heroes. I had all the shirts, I said the prayers, and I did the training and the vitamins and all that stuff. And you know what? We got to go out there and beat the shit out of Hulk Hogan. And we got to beat up Sting. And we got to beat up the Hardys, you know what I mean? And we got to beat up Kurt Angle, and we got to beat up like the top guys in the business. Man, we put a car battery on a base's nipples and threw water on them. Like, it was freaking great, man. And we were working like hand in hand with Bischoff, and it was just, man, it was surreal. It was surreal, man. Every time we go out there, like, oh shit, I was always looking for Sting, or I was always looking for Hogan, or oh man. And every time I was just like, oh, please hit me with this move, please hit me with that move, please do something. Like, I was just like a kid in a candy store. And then we were in the back, and we were in the little clubhouse, and we had the girls around, and it was like, we had beers, and we were drinking beers, and it's like, we were just hanging out, man. It was just like, shit, it was just like the way I thought it was going to be. All the stuff that it looked like it was, all the stuff that it looked like it was on TV, it was like 10 times funner than that. Because when the cameras come on, like, you got to be serious, and you kind of got to act mean and all that crap, man. It was just, hanging out with like Bubba, and Devon, and D'Lo, and all these guys that I had history with. You know what I mean? It was just, God bless, man. It was so fun. I loved it. Ken Anderson, I still talk to Ken almost every day. I still talk to Gallows, a couple times a month. I love those guys, man. Devon would drive us around, like he would drive me around, and he'd help, like he'd pay for the car, wouldn't let me pay for nothing. Like, and these guys were stand up dudes, man. And I had a blast. They taught me a lot, even though I was coming to the end of it, and I kind of knew I was too. But shit, man, what a blast! What a blast! Thank TNA for that. That is one thing I will thank them for.
And that's what I find to be the funny thing about it, is that, people still kind of look back and they rip parts of TNA, but that was I think the highlight of what they did in the last, 7 years of their company, is that Aces and Ace storyline was so compelling. Hot. But let me ask you this, though. So, obviously, people say the Impact Zone was a canned environment, and the television, with the commentary, obviously, they built the anticipation when you guys would come through the side door, and they would build that, oh my God, something bad's about to happen. But did the people inside that Impact Zone, did they kind of feel the vibe as well? Because it felt like it was controlled chaos whenever you guys hit the ring.
At least for the beginning, you know what I mean? Like, they knew something kind of special was going on. I was like, oh shit, like, this is kind of cool. Like, what the hell are these guys doing? There's so many of them. We don't know who any of them are. Like, it could be any, like, the suspense was just, it was great. And there was always, like, everybody was always guessing who it was. And, I thought at the beginning, even though that is kind of how it was, a very controlled environment. And some of those people in there, they were in there watching wrestling to get out of the ring. They weren't really fans, like some of them, but a lot of them were diehard loyals. And the only bad thing about having diehard loyals in for every show is that you got to keep turning it up. They've seen it all already. They were probably the same people that saw, like, Elix Skipper, Hurricane Rana, the guy off the cage and walk, when he walked the cage and did that. Yeah. They saw AJ doing the most incredible things ever, which, man, I forgot we got to work with AJ. These guys, it's just so cool, man. And it was the same fans that had seen all that stuff. And then they see people killing themselves week after week after week. So it's like, if you're in there just kind of doing doing your whatever match, like, hey man, you got 7 minutes and, don't do too much, give them a couple pops and work your character and do this and that. But, that's the only bad thing about being in an environment like that. Like, shit, they want you to kill each other every single match, man. It's just not humanly possible. Everything, oh, we want tables, we want fire, we want that on somebody's head. Like, it's freaking crazy. You start kind of, I never did, but people start kind of catering to the crowd, and then all of a sudden, like, what you've been trained to do, what your story that you're trying to tell, don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you get off of what you're trying to do to try to let the crowd tell you how to do your job, basically. And it was that kind of environment. But it brought out the best in some people, and it brought out the worst in other people. Some people kind of coasted through it, and other people, like, really took it as a challenge, and they put the pedal to the metal and floored it.
So what did you think about the taking off of the masks? Obviously, I'm sure that was a part of the plan, but I think when you guys kept the masks on, it added more of a dimension of mystery. You didn't know who was there, and then obviously we'd have to learn who you were at some point, but did you think that taking the masks off was a good part of the story, or maybe they could have milked it a little bit longer?
I wish they would have milked it a little bit longer. You know, when it comes to like the writing and all that kind of stuff, like after the first, you know, couple months or whatever, and like when we kind of started rolling, they started making mistakes, and then like we kind of turned into I wouldn't say a joke, but like kind of like we went out there and just got beat up everywhere. You know, when I took the masks off, I was like, okay, that's cool. I was kind of hoping to keep it for a little while longer. Maybe get some titles or something like that, like to where all of a sudden now we have a little bit of like actual validity. Like we have like, you need to pay attention to these guys because they got our shit. You know what I mean? Like they got our belts, they have everything. And now like maybe then you unmask them. So, you know, I remember I never really kept anything like memento wise, like in my career. Like I kind of, like when I went to Japan, I kind of sold everything off. Like I sold most of my gear off, like from WWE, and I did all that kind of stuff because I just didn't really, I figured I had the stories. I don't need the crap in my garage or, you know what I mean? Or up on the wall. That's kind of like, you know, I don't know. I'm not really like that, you know? So, but one thing I did want to do, because I wore that damn mask for a year, sweated in it. Oh my God, it smelled so bad. One of our best friends, you know, they're just, you know, they're not wrestlers or nothing like that, but they were over and they saw me work and they were trying to make me laugh. And she grabbed the mask and she put it on her face and she almost threw up. It smelled so bad. And she yanked it off. She was like huffing and puffing, and I was just laughing at her. And I was like, yeah, that's what I live through every single match. Okay, honey, so be a little nicer to me. And I remember we were in this cage, and you know, I was like, okay, tonight's the night. They're taking that mask off. I was like, I am keeping this mask forever. I was like, I made sure I had the coolest looking mask. I had it set to where like it fit my head perfectly. It was like, I was so excited about keeping that mask. And the first damn thing, Kurt Angle reaches over, yanks the mask off, crowd goes, oh, Mike Knox, ew. And in one fell swoop, Kurt Angle took the mask and threw it into the damn crowd. And I just looked up at him, and I was so mad. I wanted to freaking rip his balls off. I was so mad at him. Oh, there's a lucky souvenir for some fan out there. Like, oh, man.
Hey, if you're listening, fan, bring it back. If the fan's listening right now, let's get it back to Mike Knox.
Yeah. Are you kidding? That thing's probably well in the toxic waste dump by now. Somebody's dog has torn it apart. Nobody knew that it held so damn, so many feelings in my heart. And then I thought I was going to keep the cut. I was like, okay, you know what, sport? I'm keeping this vest. I don't care if I have to run out of here with it. Like, nope. They buried it in the back lot, AKA sold it on eBay. So I still don't have any awesome mementos from my career, except for my menagerie hat.
Now, how about the fact, so you talk about being a fan of Hogan and having the posters on your wall, and he was a part of not just like being an on-air character, but also, you know, him and Bischoff having a role in the creative. You know, what's it like to kind of see the creative process of the Hulkster in motion? Was it something that you just quietly observe and as a fan peacefully, you know, take it all in? Or is Hulk Hogan the kind of guy you can give like, hey, you know, maybe I think that this little wrinkle should be thrown in, or you just let Hulk Hogan do his thing?
Well, we let him do his thing, and we would suggest things that we could do. But at that time, you know, like his wheels were pretty bad, so it was pretty limited what we could really do with him. And at the same time, he was so much cooler than I thought he was going to be. Like with all that stuff, like he wanted to talk with you. He wanted to hang out with you. You know what I mean? Like whenever we were doing stuff, he's like, hey man, let me do this, brother. And like, you know, blah, 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 blah. And like, we're like, no, don't do that, man. You'll hurt yourself. Like, let us help you. You know, let us get you through this. We can get, you know, we're pros, you know, we can make it work no matter what. So it's like, you know, action, and we'd start kicking the crap out of them, and we're pummeling them, and then like, you know, cut, and we kind of help them down, and then action, and then we beat the crap out of him on the ground, and then as soon as it's cut, we're all helping him up. Like, shit, man, he's the king. He made professional wrestling. If it wasn't for him, who knows, man? Maybe nobody would have a job. So, like I said, man, he was just so cool, man. He was so much nicer to me and to my friends and like to all of us than he needed to be, because he's Hulk Hogan. You don't expect him to be normal. You expect him to be this larger than life character, and he's taking out to dinner and paying for everything, like, getting drinks and, telling you hilarious stories and, inviting you on the boat and telling you to come over to his house. It's like, geez, I always knew you were going to be like this. Oh, man. Yeah, man. He was always way cooler, way cooler than he needed to be to us, man. But we sucked it up and we drank it in like nobody's business, bro.
So let's look at the members here. So obviously you had yourself, you had Bubba and Devon, you had Luke Gallows, you had Wes Briscoe, you had Garrett Bischoff, you had Mr. Anderson.
Yep.
And then I'm not going to throw him under the bus here, but I always thought that the funny one was D'Lo. And Taz too. But I thought that D'Lo was the funny one.
And Taz. Hey, man, I don't remember. I think that D'Lo was like, he was in there for a long time, and he was one of the agents too. You know what I mean? So he kept it going good. Like, you might laugh about it or whatever, but man, people forget that MFer can work. Like I worked him a lot of times, like in Europe, and when I was still with WWE, you know what I mean? Like, so we had a little bit of a history, and you know what? He's got a brilliant mind for the business, and he was. I don't know if maybe they put him with us at the beginning to like watch and make sure that we didn't fuck everything up, like, make sure we didn't ruin everything. But man, yeah, it was a blast, man. I'm so glad that he's been there with us. I thought he kind of, I can't remember exactly what happened, but they ended up giving him a kind of a raw deal and shuffling him out the door for some reason. But yeah, man, it was every single one in there. The only one that was a little strange was Taz, I thought. Everybody else I thought fit. Like, if they would have let Taz like get in there and like do some stuff, if they would have let him like hit that chokehold that he do, the Katamaja, I can't say it like everybody else. You know what I mean? If they let him get in there and hit that choke on somebody, or they let him, even just shove him into Bubba and have Bubba hit him with something big, or like, something cool like that, or even just on the commentary, be like super heel commentary. But it was kind of like they gave him the best. You know what I mean? He was in the 8s and 8s, and he was doing his thing, and then that was kind of like all you heard from it. Like, they never really let him get in there and heal it up with us, which would have been another awesome, dream moment for me too. Because back in ECW, like, he was the freaking man. Like, like I said, you go through all this time and people forget. When Taz was in ECW, he was a freaking badass, man. And when he came to WWE, he was a freaking badass there too. And he got injured, so he had to stop. But man, people quickly forget how good Taz was, or how good D'Lo was. They, just because you get old, if you get older, it's it shouldn't take away from what you've done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And D'Lo fit very well with the story because it was an agent on the inside bringing him in. I just thought it was funny that he didn't. The way he was like, I don't know, just the way they had him dressed and stuff. He didn't look like he was joining a biker club. That's kind of what I meant. And Taz is the funny thing too. I actually feel like Taz's reveal was one of the benchmark moments because of the chaos that was caused with the wedding. And that was one of Impact's best ever endings to a show that they ever had. That wedding was insane.
Well, everybody loves a wedding, brother. Love was in the air that day.
But then, obviously, I mean, look, and then with all this great stuff, I mean, it's got to come to an end. And whether or not they dragged it out, in some people's opinion, too far, or I feel like they didn't do enough with it and then ended it kind of abruptly. What's your take on the closing days of the Aces and Eights?
Shit, brother. Like, selfishly, of course, I would have loved to do it forever. because like I said, I never had more fun with the group of guys like that. You know what I mean? Like in the ring, and they were, like I said, they were all like some of my best friends. Like I still talk to Wes all the time. I still see Garrett, once or twice a week. Like, we all kind of live around each other out here in the wrestling retirement home. All of us are kind of out here, and it's, man, it was the best, man. So selfishly, I would have loved for it to keep going, especially since I got the mask taken off. They gave me a little mic time, you know what I mean? Like they kind of started letting me get over a little bit with Bubba, and Ken and all that kind of stuff. Like they were starting to give me a little bit more and a little bit more. And, but all good things must come to an end. And whenever they thought it was time, like they got some new writers in, and they weren't really feeling it anymore. And they figured that we'd run our course. And unless, cause we'd sit there and kick out all these people, and Gallows was in Japan kicking ass and taking names, and we started kind of losing a few people, and it was just, it was that time, cause we were all going to start asking for more money. So they were like, well, shoot, man, like we had this real hot angle, and now everybody's ready to get their big checks, time to cash in. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe if they got scared and they're like, shoot, man, we can't pay all these guys what they deserve. Like, shoot, we better end this thing quick. Like before, because I mean, at that time, there was a lot of that going around, like we heard rumblings, of camera guys not getting paid. And like, we were afraid that they were going to shut the whole place down. So, I mean, when they ended that, the Aces and Eights, it was, I don't know, it was probably the right time, because we were getting a lot of screen time, we were getting a lot of air time, and the ratings were starting to go down a little bit more and a little bit more. Like people were getting kind of tired of it, I think. So yeah, they got to know when to pull the plug. That's above my pay grade. Like I said, selfishly, I wish we could have run it for a little bit longer, but professionally and business wise, it was probably the right call.
It is funny that we've interviewed Wes and Garrett and Ken Anderson and D'Lo and obviously yourself, and everybody has had nothing but positive things to say about Aces and Eights, and it was so much fun, and they really enjoyed it. So it's interesting, obviously you probably minus the name Knox, probably enjoyed it, obviously, but it's mostly positive.
Freaking name, man. If they, I hated that name more than anything. I just told them, I was like, hey, man, I think I own my name. Let's just use my name. And if they say something, we'll change it. If WWE says, if they want to come after me, little old poor Mike Knox, for trying to better himself and, do something good, then let them come and tell me. And then once they do, we'll come up with something else. And if you remember, I want to say when they took the mask off me on TV, they said Mike Knox a couple of times. And then they didn't realize if that I was the trademark or something weird. And they're like, listen, we got to come up with another name for you. And I was like, give me 5 minutes and I'll come up with 20 different names. Something easy. You know what I mean? Like, something that's close, something that's whatever, like anything, I'll come up with 20 different names. Just give me a minute. So I went and came up with all these different ones. Like, I couldn't believe like how easy it is to come up with biker names. And I was sitting there and I gave them a bunch of names and they're like, okay, man, that's awesome. And then we went out on TV. I didn't even know that's what they were going to call me. So whatever, man, it sucked. But I was like, really, guys, that's the best you could come up with? Nux? I don't even use brass knucks. Oh, shit, man. At least give me some, like, a necklace with some brass knuckles on it or something. Don't make me look like a dork. Like, Nux. What a fart name. Shit, man. But whatever, man. We're just all in this crazy world, man, to make some stories, dude. That's what we're in here for.
One thing they did well, they did this video package kind of explaining the aces and eights from like A to Z. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a really good video package, and it was like every unmasking. They had every storyline, so that was something kind of they did, that they tied everything together as far as aces and eights. That I was kind of impressed with.
I don't even think I ever saw that, bro.
It's good stuff. Surprisingly, good stuff.
I'm such an old fart. You know what I mean? Like we go and we do our matches or whatever. We'd record all the shows, and then I wouldn't even freaking watch them back when they were on TV. I'd have to have people tell me, like, "Oh man, they cut away from this," or "Hey man, they did that," or "What were you doing there?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I was there, so I was doing something." So like a lot of the times, because you sit there and you can watch it back that night. You see all your boys doing what they need to do, but I always say, well, why do I need to watch that back, man? I lived it. I know what I was doing.